This is Rebecca, the Steampunk Planner. I am creating this with you today. Grab your pen and paper and join me for whatever you want to sketch. What I'm using for reference here is an image of a sketch of Sarah Bernhardt, very flamboyantly dressed in Egyptian wear. Now, I mentioned Alphonse Mucha, and if you haven't heard the name, which I'd be surprised, he is the artist that brought about Art Nouveau in the 1930s. But he was first found in about the 1884-ish area in Paris by Sarah Bernhardt. She commissioned him to do a art piece in his flamboyant allegory illustrational way. And this actually is what put him on the map. Not this sketch specifically, but Sarah Bernhardt's need for his style put him on the map. And then from there, he created and headed up the Art Nouveau age and look that we all know now. His artwork is so unique to me. I love sketching his pieces, but I don't have the same fashion in coloring style as he does. His work is so many washes, and they're so beautiful because they're muted but so vibrant. Anyway, what I'm doing here is I'm using this sketch to create my test. I love the stylization of the Egyptian period. I'm one of those Nefertiti people, not so much Cleopatra, but definitely Nefertiti. And if there's anything on the National Geographic or History or Discovery when it comes to Egyptian artifacts and all, I can guarantee you I'm there. So that's why this sketch really called to me. I get the opportunity to have fun creating this. A little bit about this design. I have no doubt Sarah Bernhardt just came to him and was like, I want to look like an Egyptian, and he created that. But there's a little bit more about a lot of the different headdresses, which I actually looked into while creating this because I wanted it to be more me, I guess you could say. Now, one thing that you are seeing is you're seeing me maneuvering this sketch. I started out with placing everything where I felt it would line up with the sketch, but there's a lot that I am not liking, and I didn't want my sketch to have that, I guess you could say, snooty air to it, where in the sketch her head is raised above, all. I didn't want to go there. But I found shortly as I was working on this that I also did not quite like the layout because I was using the layout of her face but adjusting the profile, and I did not adjust the face. So in a moment I will show you how I took care of that. But one other thing I did want to state is when I go to draw, I am not normally on a desk. I am normally on the floor. I lay everything out in front of me on the floor, all of my examples, all of my references, everything that I want, color profiles, everything for my image is scattered around me on the floor, and then I have my blank sheet, which is what I start to work on, and I'm at a different angle. So being at the angle that I am on the desk here has been a little bit of a test in itself for me. So that's why you have seen me pick the book up, do a lot more erasing than normal. The pencil that I'm using is actually a Derwent pencil, and it's a graphite pencil in HB, which is the soft and the hard lead mixture. So it allows me to lay down my sketch without doing too much pressure on the pencil and therefore marking the page. Now the paper I'm working on is, I am in my A5 Sterling ink, which is the Tomo River paper. And here you can see I have my mechanical pencil. And I grabbed that because the lead stays sharper with my mechanical pencil. It is still the HB, but you can see here that I have adjusted her profile to work with what I was looking for. And next that I'm going to need to do is figure out her headdress. And this is where doing a little bit more research in this was something I felt I needed to do. So grabbed up that keyboard and started looking on Pinterest. And on Pinterest, I literally put in Egyptian goddess bird headpiece. And this is what came out. And this is the headpiece in different styles for Hakbet. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. Nekbet. And she was around in the early Egyptian, or felt to be around. If you know anything about the Egyptians and everything, they had a god or a goddess for something. And she was identified in the early years of Egypt. And she was considered the goddess of Upper Egypt. And at the same time, there is another called Wadjet, and I probably said that wrong, but I'm not sure. But she was the goddess of the Lower Egypt. Now, Nekbet, her headdress was the vulture. And the other, Wadjet, her headdress was the cobra. And they were known as the two ladies in that time period. And one other thing about a lot of Nekbet's depictions and hieroglyphs is the fact that, just like Horus, she had wings. So just to give you a little bit of identifying of her and her headdress there for you. So back to the drawing. I have decided that I'm going to go ahead with the vulture headdress, which means the snake look needs to go. I'm not going to do the double heads because as Egypt matured and their gods changed, their headdresses changed, and a lot of them would have the double, which was the cobra and the vulture. So I am just doing the vulture, and I kind of added a little bit of prettiness to this. I love peacocks. And I had already stylized the longer feathers as more of a peacock type of a look. So this is a peacock vulture. Yeah, okay. If you have been following me, you know my weirdness, so this is my weirdness. We've got a peacock vulture. So anyway, I am adding in, after I have established the head of the bird, I'm going to say, I am actually adding in the feathers, because in most headdresses, there was a lot more ornamentation near the front of the headdress and more wing or feather or, let me think, what's the word I'm looking for? Flamboyancy in the top and sides of the headdress, kind of like making it more of a crown. And that's what I have done here. I have made this more flamboyant and more of a peacock crown. So next in my test I'm going to be doing is pulling out my watercolors and my polychromos, and we'll see how this test goes. I'll have that for you soon. Thanks for joining me.